Penn State fans, do we have a special Blue-White Breakdown podcast for you? If you're not watching this, you're missing out. But if you're listening, Dave Jones, the Dave Jones, beloved by few Penn State football fans, despised by many, read consumed by all of them. The former PennLive columnist, wearing a UCLA jersey, but it was not planned. He does have a lot of UCLA gear. Is joining me on the podcast for a special edition. We're gonna have an appearance from his dog very shortly. I'm very excited. We got a lot to talk about. Dave, you look fantastic. We're gonna talk football, but how are you doing?
Just when I thought I was out, they keep pulling me back in.
Now you know there's some people that are gonna see you in this UCLA gear. He did this on purpose. The mid-state men are going to be like, he did that on purpose. He did that on purpose.
Did it accidentally at first, and I was getting it out of the laundry because I wanted something with, it's cold. I'm old and I get chilly, Bob. I'm a little chilly. You remember when I was in the back seat and I'd say, Greg, can you turn the heat up? I'm awfully chilly back here.
Well, remembers it as well.
Driving Miss Davy was what we called it.
Yeah.
And I was in the back seat, but I get chilly when it's like it was a 44 today in Downingtown, so I wanted a double layered thing. And when I want that, I usually wear this UCLA shirt over. So I thought, wait a minute, I'm doing Bob's podcast. This wouldn't. Yeah, okay, I like it. Yeah, that was pretty much that's how
Penn State fans. He also did something similar on a James Franklin Zoom call, I believe, and I think it was a Pitt basketball shirt, or maybe it was just a Pitt shirt.
It's just a Pitt shirt. It was an old-timey Pitt shirt from like.
Noticed it, and Dave's like, honestly, I did not do this on purpose.
Well, I noticed that like 4 minutes before the thing was going to begin. It was during COVID, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
And when they were having all the remote podcasts or remote press conferences, and I honestly didn't realize that what I had on. I got T-shirts from all over the country because it's like my collection.
Yeah. And
I just happened to have the Pitt one on, and it was like that mustard script Pitt from like the early 90s. Yeah.
You are a big, every time, there were so many times on the road, Dave, we would get to the stadium pretty early because Joe kind of wanted to get there early. And the first thing you did would go to the kind of the souvenir stand to see what the latest beer was, and you either got it for you or you got it for your son.
Yeah, I love college T-shirts and I love college venues, and I got them everywhere. One time I had Nick on vacation going to see one of his buddies who had moved to Seattle, and we went all the way down to like Mount St. Helens, and we were so close to the Oregon border. We were like right across the river from Portland. I said, I've never been to Oregon. I got to drive over the river. And I said, these guys are like, they're 11. I left them in the swimming pool at the hotel and said, I'll be right back.
That's great parenting, Dave. That's great parenting. Way to go.
It was great parenting.
Super.
Yeah, I never told Anna that, but I drove. I left them in the hotel pool by themselves, and they were maniacs.
You just
bad.
11. You threw yourself into the doghouse. But that's my segue. Speaking of dogs.
I drove to Oregon to get an Oregon State T-shirt.
When we reached out to do this a couple days ago, I said, "You make sure. I'm glad you're going to be on this, but you just make sure you have your dog ready for an appearance."
And we're interrupting the morning routine. So these are his buddy biscuits. Come here, sit. See if we can hook this up here.
Right.
Okay.
Oh man.
Sit. Okay. Wait. Can you speak? He just whispers in the morning. He doesn't want to wake anyone.
Dave's best buddy. Kaiser's looking good. I know he's had some knee issues in the past. Hopefully that's behind him.
Yeah, he thinks he's Michael Jordan still. Okay, wait. There we go.
Wow. He's looking good. He's looking very good.
Jake, he knows the routine. All right, that's enough of that stuff. He knows the whole routine.
Dave, you're wearing the UCLA shirt. Speaking of UCLA, what did you think? What did you think of that dumpster fire of a performance by Penn State?
I want to know what you think, because we haven't really talked about it. What were you thinking when it was going on? I
did a video right after the game, and I thought long and hard about it. I mean, it is obviously given the fact that James said this is his best most complete team, and they were ranked so high. They brought everyone back. It's obviously the worst Penn State loss of his time here. A lot of people want to talk about that 9 overtime game. I don't think it's really that similar. That team was well on its way to a 7-6 finish. I know they were heavy favorites against the Bielemas. That was a pretty spunky Bielema team. They won 5 games. With all the talent, with all the coaching they have at Penn State, with all the expectations, to me, this is it. I think it's in the conversation to be one of the worst losses in program history. I'm not convinced, as great as that UCLA quarterback is, that he is a fantastic player. I just think this, with all of that, this is one of the worst, I think, in program history. I'm not sure how UCLA is going to finish the season. They certainly have a terrific quarterback, but with a rebuilt coaching staff assembled on the fly against these guys, it was just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, this is how it unfolded for me. I had to drive to Columbus for my father-in-law's funeral. So the whole thing was a challenging weekend for me, but I can't get CBS's streaming on my phone. You can get like everybody's, except for CBS Paramount, you can't get it. You have to have a subscription to CBS Sports, which I don't have. So I fished around at the rest stop it's 3:30 and I want to get the game, and it's 3:40 by now, and I'd stop at the rest stop.
On the turnpike? On the turnpike, or like on?
No, I'm on I-70 almost to Columbus by that time. and I find Steve Jones and Jack Ham on one of those direct radio streaming things, and I plug that into the car, and I've got a very frustrated Steve Jones and Jack Ham, who's completely unfiltered, which is great. And when in the press box, did you ever listen to them? Because I didn't. I think you did sometimes, right?
It's funny. I saw Jack because it was in the Rose Bowl, right? And it's everyone. It's such a great venue. There was like 20,000 people there. I saw Jack. He was getting like 9 waters before he went on the radio, and he looked at me and he had a little gleam in his eye. He goes, "Hey Bob, you never take anything for granted." And I thought it was a throwaway line, but knowing Jack, he probably meant it.
You know what he knows? He knows that emotion is such a big part of football that if you don't have it, you can lose to anybody.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking. So one of my old readers said, "I'm thinking before the game on Thursday or something." He said, "I'm thinking I'm getting serious 2005 Illinois vibes here." Now, does that ring a bell for you?
Yes.
What was it?
After the Michigan game?
Yes, and they were so pissed off from that awful loss to that crappy Michigan team that they just took it out on Illinois, 63-3. Was that what it was?
I think they scored a late touchdown to make it 63-10. Yeah.
Ron Zook's first Illinois team, and he had nothing built yet. And I went, no, man, no, I don't see any of that killer kind of vibe in this team. I said I thought they would struggle, and it would end up somewhere around the number like 30. What was the number? 24? I think I said 31-7 or something like that. I never dreamed they would lose to this tire fire of a program. And that's what it is. They have no fan support. They don't have any fan support when they're good. They've never had any fan support. It's the Purdue of the old Pac-12, in that all they care about, the same John Wooden, the patriarch of both, all they care about is basketball. They don't care about football. USC cares about football. They don't care. And it's like when we used to go to Maryland games, and they were thumping Maryland in College Park, and you'd go down at halftime in College Park and Bird Stadium, and all the people were like, "Yeah, what did you do?" They don't even care. They don't care. That's UCLA. So maybe it was the intimidating atmosphere, Bob. I don't know. I mean, Penn State has beaten people in the Jordan Center with the same kind of vibe, where teams come in there and they're getting ready for a road game, and then there's no enemy problem, and they can't even
grandmother's living room.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Did you use that before?
No.
And it's like they can't even get the enemy hatred going because there's nothing to hate there. There's nothing. So there was that. And I got in there at about 10. It was 10-0. And I'm like, 10-0 UCLA? And Steve is obviously very frustrated, and Jack is just coming out with appraisals like they look like they're running in mud,
Yeah.
and and then it just kept getting worse and worse. We finally get to our favorite restaurant in Columbus and get up to the bar
What is it?
because
Can I ask what it is?
it's called Vaso, Vaso.
Okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful bar. And we picked up Nick from the airport, so I'm listening all the way through there. It's getting worse and worse and worse. We finally get to the restaurant. It's 27-7 at halftime. I gotta see this, and there's 3 seats right in front of the TV that has UCLA, Penn State on, and it was.
Brad
I gotta
Nessler on the
say,
call.
huh?
Brad Nessler on the call.
Well, we couldn't hear that. We didn't know it was Danielson and Nessler. All I knew was this train wreck
Yeah.
unfolding, and that's when they tried to scramble back in the game, and it looked like it's. I think I probably jinxed them because when they got within a touchdown, I'm telling the bartender, yeah, after the block punt, they're gonna win this.
Yeah.
There's no way. I think I said there's no way they're not
Of
gonna
course
win
you
this.
did. Of course you did. James Franklin appreciates your support.
Oh, oh. And I know Tony Rojas wasn't in there, but man, oh man,
It
oh
was.
man.
So that's an issue. The bigger issue is their offense is just completely out of whack early in games, and in that game, Dave, they knew, at some point after that first drive, they knew, look, the only thing we got to do is make sure this quarterback stays in the pocket, make him throw the
Which
ball,
brings me to my next point.
and they never could do it.
Which brings me to my
Field.
next point. They've got a 3rd and 7, I believe, on the following UCLA drive, and they've got to stop there. They just gotta
Yeah,
envelop him. And I actually took a picture, which I realized I've got to do this on my phone, or I could have shown it to you because I don't have a laptop that
yeah.
actually works on streaming anymore. But they rushed 6. Did you notice this play? They sent 6 at Iamaleava, and but they weren't gap sound
No,
at
they weren't.
all,
They were not.
at all.
No, they weren't.
And like 5 guys are bunched up over here, and Sutton's way over here speed rushing
Yeah,
around. It was just,
it was a cavernous hole.
it was chaos, man. You have to be gap sound in that situation. If you're rushing 6,
Yeah,
you envelop him and trap him because he's slippery.
he is.
And yes, it was a cavernous hole. He ran out of there and there was nothing in front of him. And 52 yards later, the game had changed. That's all they needed. And that huge UCLA crowd got them going, but they needed that stop, and if they get that stop, we're not talking about any of this.
Yeah.
But this is my next point. I think over this Franklin era where they keep stepping on their twangs in huge games. Can I say that, Megan? Megan, is that okay? Let's go to the judges.
We'll get it. We'll get it. We're gonna allow it because it's you.
All right. Who never gets any of the blame? The defense. And over and over and over, they pissed away 4th-quarter leads in big games. How many times to Ohio State they've had 4th-quarter leads?
Well, yeah,
last week.
That 17 and 18 stretch where they had
Yeah.
that Barkley team. It was like 35-20 going into the 4th quarter, and then they were up. Trace McSorley ran for 175 yards in the walkout game, and they fiddly farted that one away too.
They had a double-digit 4th-quarter lead in that game also.
Yeah.
But also in 21 they had a 4th-quarter lead against Ohio State. Or 20. No, 22.
Yeah. 22.
And the week before against Oregon, they've got the lead in overtime. They've got all the momentum. Why is the Penn State defense Teflon? They should be Velcro. They should be getting a lot of the blame for this stuff because they were not ready to play.
No.
They weren't remotely ready to play. At least the Penn State offense did show up in the second half. They're ready to take the lead. And then the defense does this. I mean, they never, and no one ever talks about it. No one ever talked about it under Pry. No one ever talked about it under any of the different coordinators. and they're not talking about it now under Knowles. I don't understand why. They didn't talk about it in the national semifinal against Notre Dame, and they had the lead then in the fourth quarter and
They
pissed
did.
it away.
They did.
And then the DB falls down. No
Kidding.
one ever talks about it. It's always the Allar bad interception. Granted, that's true. But does anyone ever talk about the blowing fourth quarter leads and it's completely on the defense? No. So I blame a lot of this on the defense.
42 points. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Against
say,
that offense?
Yeah.
Look, I just saw them all through the game doing harebrained things.
Yeah.
But that was the perfect play to really look at what they're doing. And they're just totally undisciplined. I think it was Durant that was rushing way inside his lane, and Sutton was way outside his lane. And yeah, you give that kid, Amelieva is a slippery, really fast quarterback.
Yes, he
He's
is.
6'5". You
Yeah.
can't allow him to do that. You envelop him and you make him throw the ball, and he's going to make mistakes. Against Ohio State, when he was with Tennessee, he was a mess. He was a mess, and that's what he can be. That's why he's going from place to place to place, because he doesn't have, I don't think he has the intellect to process a defense. He doesn't look like it. I don't know the kid, but it doesn't look like he has that. So you make him think and make him analyze, and don't let him use his athleticism, which is all they did.
Too much access to free yards on, and I think they were 10 for 16 on third down.
Oh.
It was just, and a lot of them were. And then, all right. I think your point about the defense and how it was undisciplined and how it could not, to save its life at a key juncture, slow down the winless.
And let's say they haven't been able to get off the field against Oregon or UCLA or any.
I think, Dave, I do think that Oregon team, like when Oregon and Ohio State play, that is must-see stuff, because I really, really, that's not that easy to do coming into the whiteout, and just, they didn't even care about the crowd noise. They just,
that Oregon quarterback is the real deal.
It could have been a lot worse, but your points about the defense, well stated. This is what is driving me insane. It's driving me insane, Dave. Something is going on. I don't get it.
Well,
after all this, the defense does get a fourth down stop in UCLA territory. Wheatley makes a play. The offense comes out on a short field, knowing if they get a touchdown, they can tie the game. Maybe it's overtime. They get another shot.
You know what would have happened? It's just better that you didn't see it, because James would have gone for the win, gone for 2, and then the game would have been over.
So the offense comes out, short field. They run 6 plays. Katron Allen is not on the field. Nick Singleton's on the field. He has reverted to 2023 form. He's overthinking everything, pressing every situation. He's slow to react. Katron Allen is just, he sees it and hits it, and he is clearly their better back, and they refuse to run him. And I'm like,
well, they refuse to feature him, which they should, because he gives them juice, man. I think he gives them fizz. He gives them energy. When we just bowl over like 4 guys along the sideline, that's when everyone on the team is going, yeah.
Why is he not? What's going on? He hit 8 carries for 50 yards.
Yeah, Singleton, I'm with you. Singleton should be a change-up back.
Absolutely.
An outside threat. He doesn't run well inside, never has. They should be Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside, with Singleton as a change-up back, and that's it. But we have to address this. Why can this happen at UCLA? The only time teams have games like this, I always laugh. There's the little clip before the blue-white breakdown where Franklin says, you talk about culture. And, well, where's the culture here?
Yeah.
It seems to me, and I think James is a really bright guy who has figured out a process, a kind of a template, and he does not divert from that template, and the template is getting old, man. And it's all about sales. It's about the sales job, the selling recruits, which he's really good at, and then selling the team on his process once they get there. And it's full of bromides and parables and all the crap that we hear in press conferences. But he's not selling the alumni anymore. which he did it first.
Yeah.
He did 107,000 strong. Obviously, we have the greatest fan base, appreciative of the fan base. All that stuff is falling on deaf ears now.
Yeah.
And the whole thing has gotten old. I thought if I had written something, thank God I was smiling the entire second half because I knew I didn't have to write anything and I could just get drunk at the bar and be fascinated by the whole thing. If I had written something, I think I would have written something very similar to what Johnny
Yeah.
McGonigal did, which I thought was super.
Yeah.
That this is a marriage that just needs a divorce at this time, and they ought to get together with a good divorce attorney and figure out a way to split it up, because I don't think there is any culture left there. I don't know why, because I'm not inside anymore. I've been out for a year and a half. I'm not going to tell you why, because I don't know. I just know for a UCLA game to happen, there has to be a weariness, a fatigue about the message. And I don't think it's changed in a long time.
Right.
And I don't think the players are hearing it. If they heard it, this wouldn't happen. It couldn't happen. It couldn't happen. I think, somebody, I won't name him, but I mean, an old Penn State alum texted me like a day or two later he said maybe Franklin should have just stayed out there and taken the UCLA job when it comes open. And that's it. We laugh, but I think it would be a perfect place for him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the pressure of having a big time program because nobody cares there. Yet he's got the son. Fumi would love it out there. I think Fumi's very smart. And you also know that he's getting all sorts of racist blowback right now. And this part is really sad because I have heard this from different sources. I'm not even trying to find out anything.
Yeah.
And people are telling me stuff.
Yeah.
Of the kind of horrendous things that are on X aimed at him. I think he would have been out of there two or three different times if things had lined up the way they could have. Twice for USC. And the Illinois game ruined one opportunity.
Yeah.
And the Iowa game ruined another one. Were those what seasons were those? 19 and 21. I'm trying to think.
No, I think so. You're talking about the Iowa loss in 2021 that preceded the Illinois loss.
They were the same year. Yeah, so they both ruined it. Yeah. And then there was an earlier opportunity where Lynn Swann had signed Clay Helton to this ridiculous deal, and Carol Folt, the president, just wasn't going to sign off on any buyout, or they didn't have the money to throw at something like what Franklin wanted. So things just didn't line up. But I know for a fact that there were a lot of people in the trustees at USC who wanted James Franklin, and he was ready to go. So this could have happened before because I think he's been weary of it. And Penn State fans have been weary of him for years. Am I wrong?
No, I think that's right. Yeah, and especially now. I mean, my question for you was going to be, even though you're not covering the team anymore, I can't imagine how many people you heard from, especially maybe after this game or maybe after the Oregon game.
I couldn't avoid it. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't avoid it. I don't care. I honestly don't care anymore. And I watched the game, or I might not. I actually turned off the Notre Dame game last winter with 7 minutes to go in the game and Penn State ahead because I got a picture. I was just I wanted to go get a shower. It's midnight or whatever. What time?
Yeah, midnight showering. I know.
What before I go to bed? And I took a look at Riley Leonard's face and I thought, this kid's going to that's a gunslinger. That's Trace McSorley. Yeah. I took a look at his face and said, that kid's going to figure out how to win this game. And poor Drew Allar, what's the opposite of a gunslinger? Because that's what he is. I heard something very interesting about Drew, and I thought it seemed like it fit. And I don't know if it's completely true, but it seems like it fits to me that he was just a kid in Cleveland who really enjoyed playing football with his buddies. And then he got good in high school, and then he got really good. And then he's a 5-star recruit, and all of a sudden this just happens to him.
Yeah.
And he gets paid. What's he making? I don't even know. $2 million?
I think that's the number that's been floating around, and that tracks given what other quarterbacks
Yeah, yeah.
after are getting.
And it's not like you're going to say, "No, mom and dad, I don't want to do this. I really," all of a sudden, all this goes on top of you. Can you imagine what happens to not just the kid, a 19-year-old kid, or the family? And we're not even talking about a poor family, and where this has happened when they go pro, like basketball players who go early and they're 20, and all of a sudden they've got millions of dollars. We're talking about any family where all of a sudden this kind of money happens to you. There can be all sorts of dysfunction in any family. It's a brain changer. It's a mind bender. And I can't even imagine the pressure on a kid who just was having fun playing football and now all this happens to him. Yeah, can you imagine that? Now, I'm not saying all this applies directly to Drew Allar, but I can imagine it would, and a lot of other kids. But
Yeah.
that's the it's kind of it's a truth of the new age of where we are, that you've got a push pull. On one hand, the players have all sorts of control and they have all sorts of options, and on the other, all of this, the same responsibility is falling on teenagers that used to not fall on guys until they were young adults with all this money. It's just a life changer, and I think it's really hard. I wouldn't take it back. I think this is the way it has to be. I think kids should have that power, because otherwise you get Urban Meyers who just coerce these kids into doing exactly what they want because they can hold their scholarship over their head,
Yeah.
the only money they have. Urban Meyer couldn't coach anymore because he doesn't have that power. That's why he's out of the game.
Yeah.
He's one of the biggest pricks that's ever been involved in college athletics. Kelly down at LSU is another one.
Yeah.
They're really nasty, really, really sinister people. I don't think Franklin has enough prick in him, frankly, because when those guys have to win games, Vince Lombardi was a big prick, Vince, two of the best biographies I ever read, and I think I've mentioned this to you, are about Steve Jobs and Vince Lombardi.
Yeah.
David Meredith's When Pride Still Mattered, which you've probably read, and Walter Isaacson, Jobs. And they both just coerced people into doing exactly what they wanted them to do. And if they didn't, they were out. Well, you can't do that anymore in
Yeah.
college athletics. And the only guys who can pull it off are people who just threaten and scare the hell out of people, I think. But it doesn't work anymore in college athletics. It doesn't work anywhere. That's why Urban couldn't make it in Jacksonville. These guys went, hey asshole, forget it. We're out. He was gone in 8 games.
It's like do you remember you're talking about the coach from Robbie Benson's movie?
I knew you were going to say that.
One-on-one.
I knew you were going to say that.
Scholarship. People, Penn State fans are like, "What are you talking about?" But that's who Dave is talking about.
What's that actor's name? Yeah, what's that actor's name?
J.D. Spratlin or
that's right, J.D. Spratlin. He was in North Dallas 40 too. Yeah,
playing Tom Landry.
Tom Landry. Yeah. You were never part of the team.
Another ruthless. You know what? Another one.
J.D. Spratlin was great at those parts.
Yeah, he was.
But you can't do that anymore.
I think it's true. I just don't know what It's it's like it's how this season is going to play out. Like people are still, beat Iowa at Iowa, Ohio State, we beat India. I'm like, look, man, this I don't know how much better this is. They can make some changes. They can play harder. But
Let me ask you this:
I don't know how much better it's going to get.
Let me ask you this, because I was weighing all that, and I don't know anymore. I just don't know. I don't pay enough attention. And I used to ask you most of the questions anyway, like the how good are these guys questions, because you were the authority a lot more than I was. But in college athletics, just like Jack Ham said, you never know, because the emotions are like this, as we saw with Ohio State after that Michigan debacle.
Yeah.
Once they got over the hump with Tennessee, boom, like a rocket ship.
Yeah.
Now, given if Penn State comes out of that Iowa game, they do have a week off before Ohio State, is that right?
That's correct.
If they pull off the Iowa game, and they certainly have the talent to win that game, right?
The Iowa game, yeah.
They got the talent to win that game.
Yeah.
So if they start feeling good about themselves, do they have the talent to go into Columbus and somehow win?
Let me ask you this. How tight will James Franklin and Drew Allar be going into that game?
Maybe this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Buster Douglas was never good enough to beat Mike Tyson until he just didn't give a damn anymore.
Right.
When his mom died 3 weeks before the fight.
Yeah.
He had the physical ability, he didn't have it up here. Then his mom died, and he was like, screw it. Screw it. They actually asked him, John Johnson asked him if he wanted to postpone the fight. And he thought about it, and then he said, no, I just don't care anymore. Let's do this. Maybe there's a moment where Drew Allar believes that. I think he's the key to it.
He's
And
yeah.
a couple of the defensive guys where they just say the whole world hates this. Screw it. Let's just go play balls out and see what happens. If they do that, if they get in that mindset, can they beat Ohio State and Columbus? That's my question.
The clips I've seen of that Ohio State defense.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I'll tell you what, Dave, I am very, very surprised. I thought after they lost all the talent off of last year's team, and they lost a lot of talent.
It's a conveyor belt.
There are some hungry 4 and 5 stars on that Ohio State team, and the pressure's almost kind of off now that they won.
Yeah.
And it's off Ryan Day as well. They are a nasty, nasty bunch. I know that Texas and Arch Manning are not that good this year, but they completely baffled them right out of the gate. I think Penn State has a shot. It is a small, small shot. I don't know how you can trust them. And they've had better teams. I mean, I shouldn't say that. They've had some pretty good teams go into Columbus and just get vaporized. So I don't know, and it's a tough atmosphere to play. And I think as much as it is about Drew, I mean, I just think that James is going to be wound so tight with his program and how he wants to.
Maybe he has a moment like that too. He's not a dumb guy. He's a bright guy.
Nothing to lose right now. He really.
That's the thing.
Yeah, he's almost
when you finally get to a point where you just say, I don't give a anymore, and you just let it fly.
Yeah.
What would happen? Do they have the talent at wideouts? I don't see it, but it's better than it has been. Number 5's pretty good.
They have enough talent to see. No one's been able to really make Ohio State uncomfortable yet this year. You know what I mean? They've kind of just been in control of everything, and then it's just they're like a battering ram, an athletic battering ram. They just wear you out. But I mean, you're going to have to get them in a position where that quarterback is going to, Texas had them last year in kind of that position after a slow start. And it was a game. It was like a 7-point game. Texas was driving. And then that defensive end made an incredible play and turned it into
this is what I'm saying. I don't think you can grind it out against them and win. Penn State has tried it how many years, and they are steady at scrimmage. They are with them at scrimmage, and then Henderson or somebody busts a huge run, or they block a punt and Katie bar the door. What if, this is my question, what if they're in this we don't care anymore mindset, and Allar just starts dropping back on first down and going up to the wideouts? Are the wideouts in that situation good enough to beat Ohio State's secondary and shock them?
I think that scenario is hard for me to see because they're not that dynamic in terms of a passing game. I think the strength of this team should be with the O-line and Katron Allen running the ball.
And it's not.
That's really Katron doesn't get to run the ball.
Well, the offensive line doesn't get much push, man.
I do think. You know what I think, Dave? You know who everyone? So they talk about no Tyler Warren. They talk about no Abdul Carter. You know who Penn State misses? They miss Frank Leonard. Do you remember who Frank Leonard was? He was like the offensive line assistant who was nasty, like nasty. I've heard it described to me as he was the bad cop to Troutwine's good cop on the practice field and on game day.
I'm trying to imagine Troutwine as a good cop now.
Yeah, well, I mean, he doesn't really, he's a teacher, he's a corrector, but
Yeah. I
this,
never talked to Frank Leonard, did you?
he left. He was never
I
really
mean, when he
made good.
was there, did you ever talk to him?
No, but you could hear him. You could always hear him on game
Yeah.
day. You could always hear him on the practice
I
field.
don't remember him ever being available.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
He was more, he's a guy I think that was kind of a tone setter, and I think as that last year got going, he started to really get after those guys because he saw that they could play, but he needed to get their attention.
That is amazing. This has a parallel of a guy that you weren't even around. In 93 and 94, his name was Craig Service. You
Yeah.
ever even heard of him?
No.
He was like the offensive line assistant then.
Yeah.
And he had as much to do with building that great offensive line of Bucky Greeley, Conlon, who am I missing? Johnson and
the right guard that played for the
Hardings and Rivera.
Yeah.
I mean, here we are 30 years later, and I just named all 5 of them.
Yep.
Craig Service was the guy who Mark Brennan always told me was really more responsible for that than anybody.
Yeah.
And when I went back and did a retrospective on that offensive line with Kerry Collins and all 5 of those guys, they all sang his praises. That was absolutely right. So that's funny because there's a guy like that behind the scenes in a lot of programs.
I think the most successful teams need to have a bad cop that does it in a tough love way and is not, like you said, like Urban Meyer and those head coaches, but is a guy that holds everyone accountable.
I think you could be that bad cop on a biddy ball team. What do you think?
Well, I'm also like that. I'm also like that with Greg Pickle on the road in Bart. No, I'm not. No, but
No, you're not. You're a teddy bear. You could never be that guy. I could be that guy.
Oh, you
I could be that guy. In fact, I did it. Greg, what did we talk about it? What did we talk about before the game? I could be that guy.
I do think that there's not enough fire with this team. There's a couple of players who play that way. One of them is that kid from North Carolina, Amari Campbell. I cannot be more impressed with him, but he has no help at linebacker now that Rojas is out, and that's probably going to be as much as anything they're undoing because they're going to play him 100 snaps a game, and his shoulders are going to fall off, and it's just going to be Dom DeLuca.
Yeah, they've been in there a lot of snaps too. What's the snap total from UCLA and Oregon combined? It's got to average 80 or something, right?
They were on the field for 77 plays. He was on the field for all of them.
Oh my God!
And it was the same. It was pretty much the same against Oregon. They are top heavy for a team that's supposed to be so good at key positions, and they don't really trust. Jim Knowles is a complicated defensive guy. I think he needs to dial it back and make it easier for some of their better athletes to get on the field. We'll see if he does that, because if you have Dom DeLuca on the field too much, it's not a lot different than having Tyler Elsdon on the field too much. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
I'm going to tell Tyler Elston that you said that, and you're going to get a couple of calls, buddy.
He might. Well, he's a skook. He'll probably just come look for me. Dave, I think we got to wrap this up. We actually have another podcast coming at around noon. Anything else? Just your thoughts on? I think you've spoken at great length about where James Franklin is at Penn State, and as much as he is somebody that would be coveted just about anywhere else, the circumstances surrounding his 12th year at Penn State it just might not be the case. Johnny wrote about it, and I'm a little fascinated to see if this thing does not get markedly better. I think what Johnny wrote, and I think what you're saying, it would not surprise me, even with some money involved.
Nothing surprises me in college athletics with the volatility of the situation now. That's all I'll say. I told you, if somehow they get over the top at Iowa, which is a really tough place to play.
It is very tough.
Ohio State doesn't even take these guys seriously anymore. They don't. They think we're always going to beat them. They'll always gag it up. We got this.
Yeah.
Because they've got bigger fish to fry, frankly, this season.
They do.
They got it. Yeah.
They better beat Michigan. They better beat Michigan.
And when is Indiana for them?
So it's right after Ohio State at Beaver Stadium.
No, I'm talking about for Ohio
I
State.
don't know if they play Indiana this
They
year.
don't play them. Okay, all right.
I don't think they do. But so Indiana is at Oregon this
At
week.
Oregon, yeah, which
And
is interesting.
they're going to get Penn State after the Ohio State game. So that's a great spot if you're Indiana.
Yeah, they're going to be
I
beat
like
up.
that coach.
Yeah,
He also might be like J.D. Spradlin, this Cignetti guy. He
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You can tell that Kurt Cignetti is a badass.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to play hard every snap, you're just not going to be there.
Yeah.
And he's the boss. They don't need a bad cop in Indiana. He is the bad cop, and he runs the show. And I'm telling you, Bob, every single week, they got worn out during the end of the season last year. I think the 2015 win over
Yeah.
Michigan kind of took a lot out of them.
Sure.
And after that, they were beat up. And they don't have the depth yet because he hasn't been able to build it. And they don't have any 5-star talent, really. But between Cooper and Surratt, they have 2 better wideouts than anything Penn State has. No one ever talks about that. Those 2 guys are really good. They don't scare you, but man, they catch everything. They know how to get open. Sometimes I'm watching the Penn State wideouts and they're just running around out there. When I have the wide shot, that's the thing about not being able to be at the game. You don't have the coach's shot, you know.
Running around like border collies, Dave?
Well, they're like little kids going, "Open, I'm open," and they're not open. Those guys can play, and that kid they've got from Cal, the quarterback,
Mendoza.
is really good.
Yeah.
So that is a completely overhauled program, and he did it in a year. And they're tough. They are a tough program, a tough bunch of guys. They are a problem, and they're unseating Penn State in the number 3 spot, are they not?
I would say they have a very firm grasp on that. I'm curious to see how they do at Oregon, but yeah, I think the top 3 in the Big Ten are pretty set. I think on a neutral field, regardless of what happens, I think Indiana is already better than Penn State based upon how erratic Penn State has been on offense.
Indiana is so well coached.
Even beginning in the non-conference schedule where you're like, oh, these guys are just kind of...
It's remarkable how well coached Indiana is.
Yes.
At every snap, every position, they're never out of position. Even if they can't do what he's asking them to do, they're in the right place to do it. And I think it's just a matter of, do they have enough depth? And I'm not plugged in enough to know whether they have enough depth to last the season this year, because they got a tougher schedule than they did last year too. So I'm not counting Penn State out of that possibility. I don't expect it any more than you do, but in college athletics, it's like Jack Ham said, man, you never know, because the emotional part is so volatile right now.
Dave, any parting thoughts for the Penn State fan base who genuinely, I mean, I've said it before, they got more excited to read. They didn't have to agree with you. They just wanted to read you or listen to you on videos. Any parting thoughts? Just on, we're not even halfway through the season, and it's getting a little grim in State College about the team that was once number 2 in the country. Any parting thoughts?
First of all, I don't know if what you said is true. I think they're glad to be rid of me, most of them. But
I get stopped. I get stopped on the way to the stadium by tailgaters, and these are guys that are like in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they always talk about you. I swear to God. I don't like buttering you up, Dave, but I'm telling you it's true.
No, I know that. I know that is true. I would just say we got a lot of other issues in our country right now. You can't take this that seriously. One thing about retiring is that you realize none of this crap matters. It really doesn't. Your family, your friends, nature, your dog. These are the things.
I forgot the dog, man.
These are the things that matter. These are the things that matter. You just can't get bent out of shape about it. I mean, the Phillies. If I was going to get bent out of shape about anything, it would be the Phillies. And right after the UCLA game, that came on, and I'm getting drunk. Anna said she's never seen me this drunk because I'm nervous. Nervous
drinking, yeah.
And then the 3-run homer, I did the move away from the bar thing. I had to walk around and I'm going like this, you know.
I've never seen this, Dave. No, I've never. is shocking to me.
And
It's shocking to me that you act up in a bar.
my
No way.
26-year-old son, who is so level-headed, so unlike me, is like, okay, he's like smiling. He's
Lighten
like,
up,
okay,
Francis.
okay,
Take
you
time
gotta
to break.
calm down. But that, if there's anything anymore that I get worked up about, it's that. But even that, I enjoy life, man. It's too short, and none of this matters. It's for fun. It is.
Dave, before we let you go, could we circle maybe right before or right after the Ohio State game just to check in with you? Because I think that's going to be another big moment in this season, good or bad. And I'm sure you're obviously going to be watching the game, so we'd love to hear from you.
All I'll say is run this up the flagpole. Somebody's going to have to CTC. You know what I mean? Cut the check.
I told you there's some PennLive swag.
Do I get a keychain? What do I get?
Hey, Burke Noel's my first call for this.
Tell him what he's won, Johnny. Pez candy.
I think that's a great note to end this on. Good chatting with you. Good chatting with you. Stay well. Go walk your dog, and like you said, enjoy the Phillies run. Hopefully, it'll be a long one.
Say goodbye, Kaiser.
Kaiser.
Bye, Kaiser.
Kaiser, you're looking good. Kaiser. Hope you go on a long W. I won't say it out loud because you're going to get excited.
See you, Bob.
All right, see ya.